Welcome to the Raid Addicts Raid Leading Guide. I'm Zafu, and today I'll be covering some of the key considerations you should think about before deciding to take up the mantle of raid leadership. As always, if you have questions, suggestions or comments, please do engage below the video or join the Raid Addicts Discord community. A link is in the description. Raid leadership is not for everybody. Quite often, the task feels more like a job than playing the game. That said, the rewards of delivering strong leadership can propel guilds into achieving their goals more quickly, attracting talent, and retaining good players for the long term. On a personal level, being a good raid leader delivers more than a heightened sense of achievement. Raid leadership develops numerous real-world skills that can be applied in scenarios outside of the game, particularly in the world of work. Many of the traits of a good raid leader are hard to come by and can often be impressive to employers, especially in people management, but also in data analysis, organizational skills, and perhaps most notably, communications. Raid leadership requirements will vary depending on the type of team you're running and the support that you have available. Rather than breaking down the different styles, I want to keep these guides more general. The beauty of being a raid leader is that you get to decide how you run things. That said, there are some considerations that are universally important. Let's take a look at those. A support network is a must. Unless you have an unlimited amount of free time to devote to raid leadership, you are going to want to identify other members of your team that can support you in collecting information, reviewing strategy, and managing some of the out-of-raid tasks. Typically, this will be an officer call, but don't be afraid to rely on strong members of your raid team for support too. We'll talk more about delegation in another video, but giving players responsibility often helps to retain them for the long term. 2 is additional time. A raid leader should be prepared to spend about 25 to 30% more time outside of raids to do an effective job. Managing your time and knowing your limits will be key to getting things done without burning out. Number 3 is communication skills. These can be learned, of course, but being able to articulate yourself clearly over voice chat is very important. 4. Objectivity. As a raid leader, your job is to deliver a consistent, fair environment for your guildmates to play the game in. That means putting aside preconceptions about certain players, certain strategies or methods of working, and focusing on what will deliver results objectively. It's true, none of these traits are even surprising or difficult. Being a raid leader is a job that most people can do very effectively. The 5th and final item, of course, is to have a passion for what you do. Enjoying the game, your guild, and the raids themselves is key to running a great team. Let's look a bit at time commitment. This is make or break for a lot of new raid leaders. Despite what people may believe, a good raid leader who holds a strong set of supporting officers does not need to devote all of their free time to World of Warcraft. That said, you should expect to make yourself available to complete additional tasks. For me, a balance of about 25 to 30% additional time works well. This time will be spent researching new fights, managing your existing players, and delivering key messages to the team and your supporting officers. Don't make the mistake of sinking endless hours into the minutiae of fights. Almost always, strategies can and should be simplified into very basic steps. You'll probably hear a lot of discussion about the best role to play while being a raid leader. The truth is, there is no clear-cut answer to this question, purely some considerations to make before deciding what to play. Oversight is crucial. Raid leaders need to be able to see the encounter space clearly. UI modifications can help to combat this where there's a deficit, but being able to see the entire space helps immensely. That's why often melee DPS can be a trickier position to raid lead in. Simplicity. A raid leader is going to be focusing more on just their rotation. A simpler class may be a good option to ensure your output doesn't fall too far below everyone else. Raid frame oversight. As a healer, by design, you're going to be much more focused on raid frames than other roles. This gives you the ability to identify quickly where someone is potentially making a mistake. Lastly, consider pace. Tanks are, behind you as a raid leader of course, the driving force when it comes to pacing. If you want your raids to be snappier with less downtime, consider tanking if you don't already have like-minded tank players. We'll talk more about setting up a strong user interface and how to track what's important in a future video. Thanks for watching this guide. Next time we'll look at the steps you need to take to form a strong raid team. We'll dive into recruitment and consider how to best assess players that approach you and your team. Until then, have a good one and take care of yourselves.